This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 70 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Enjoy today's tip. I'm Glenn the Geek with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. I'm excited to have back with me today Darley Newman. Darley's such a sweetheart, and she's a travel expert and published author and Emmy-nominated host and producer. She searches the globe for the best in equestrian travel while learning about local history, culture, and food. Darley is the host and producer of Equitrekking, the first travel television series to explore the globe on horseback. Equitrekking is broadcast on PBS stations across the nation. And also, she is on various international networks. There's no one that knows more about equestrian travel than Darley. She'll be joining us periodically with equestrian travel tips. And we'd like to congratulate her. Since we recorded this, she has won an Emmy for her show, Equitrekking. It was very nice that she got to go to the Emmy Awards and win a daytime Emmy. You know, we all dream about exotic equine vacations. Well, thanks to Darley's popular show, she gets to live them, and through her, we get to enjoy them too. Well, let's say hi to Darley and learn more about equestrian travel and find out what her tip is for the day. Well, hi, Darley, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. It's always fun to have you on.
Thanks, Glenn. It's fun to speak with you.
You know, and I encourage everybody to go back and listen to, we had recorded one previous tip with Darley, and she's going to be coming back on here over time to talk to us about traveling and doing horse vacation kind of stuff, because I don't know anybody else that has done more of it than you have.
I go to a lot of places.
And you go with a whole bunch of extra equipment and people and have to worry about makeup and things. That's a good question. Do you wear makeup on the rides?
Well, I actually don't wear a lot of it because, well, one, we shoot in high definition, and that actually picks up pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I'm sweating and
right, you'd be
hot
running
out
everywhere.
There. So I try to keep it to the minimum.
And you don't need it either.
Oh, thanks.
See, this is how I'm keeping you coming back.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have for us today?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit more about how you find where to go and choose a good riding vacation for yourself.
Oh, cool, yeah.
You know, whether you've been on one before or you haven't, there are just a lot of things that you want to ask yourself and think about, and just resources to sort of start your research, and that can be a lot of fun just to kind of dream about where you want to go. So those are some of my tips. More things to think about and ask yourself for your plans and your dream vacation to go riding somewhere.
All right, cool.
Well, I mean, as you know, there are tons of different places that you can, and as you've seen on our show, go horseback riding all around the world. And they're all different. But what you want to think about is, are you going to go by yourself? Are you going with a group? What's your experience level, your skill level? How long do you want to be in the saddle every day? I mean, do you want to do a trip where you're in the saddle for 6 hours a day, or do you want to do a trip where you can ride in the morning and maybe go back to the ranch and sit in the hot tub in the afternoon? So these are all things to consider, because once you start out on one of those longer trips, especially if you're doing a pack trip or something, you've invested yourself in that trip and you're in the saddle. So you want to make sure that you're up for that challenge and that, you know, the trip is appropriate for your riding level. You also want to think about, you know, the other people in your group. Do they want to ride or do they want to do some other activity? Because there are lots of different options out there. Costa Rica, we did, you know, tree climbing. We went to the beach, but we also went riding. So it's that in that scenario, you know, if Glenn, you didn't want to ride on the vacation, you could take off and do something else while I went riding. So there are things to consider, and there are vacations that can actually please your entire group, which can be a challenge.
Now, do you recommend doing? I know there's a couple of companies that do equestrian trips where it's a prepackaged trip.
Right.
Do you recommend that, or do you recommend doing it yourself, or both, or?
I think it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, there are lots of, we go through the individual places because they're just great places all over the world. But it depends on what you're looking for and how much you want to be involved in the planning process. But a lot of individual places in Ireland and Uruguay and all over the world have trips that are already set up, so you can just call them up and take the vacation with them. A lot of people that we profile on the show, that's what they do. They take people on riding vacations. And, there are people out there that and outfitters and companies that do day trips as well as longer rides. So if you wanted to, some of our national parks have great day rides. If you just wanted to incorporate that into your vacation, if you wanted to try it out and see if you wanted to make it into a longer thing, I think that's a great way to do it. A lot of the state parks too. And then you can also go off for, as you know, a longer training trip and go brush up on your dressage skills in Spain or wherever else. You can try barrel racing, and you can go out to a ranch and see what it's like to be on a working ranch. So there are all these different I think a lot of them are dream experiences, and I think it's fun to kind of go live in other people's shoes and try those different things on the different breeds that are out there all around the world.
Have you ever done I saw this on one of the travel sites, I think it was ridingtours.com. Have you ever done the safari in Africa on horseback?
That's one that I'd love to do. That is definitely on the list. And I've heard so many people tell me about going to Botswana, and that there's some awesome riding there in South Africa. So those two places I have on our list to try for equitrekking so that we can film it and other people can see it, because there's like the wildebeest migration and all these amazing things you can do.
I know. There just seem to be a whole lot of different things that you don't think about normally. Like you don't think about going on a safari on horseback, It's one of those things that just doesn't come up very often. Are there websites that you like to use for your travel?
Our website, we've actually started compiling a lot of information on our website just from what we've personally done. So that's a good resource, equitrekking.com. I think a great way to find somewhere new also is really to ask your friends and family to get personal recommendations, word of mouth. I mean, you can do online searches. Those are great as well. And another great resource that people don't necessarily think about are tourism and visitors bureaus. The other day, someone was asking me about riding in the Czech Republic, and I did a search because I said I haven't been there and I don't know anything about it, but I just did a quick search and looked. And their tourism board had a bunch of different options. And that's a good way to just start out, because then you can actually get on the phone with someone. And what I like to do is to try to ask the person if they personally visited it, or do they have someone that I can talk to that has been there. The other day I was researching Greece, and I found a place that I thought looked good, and I said, well, do you have someone I can talk to who's been there? And I ended up talking to this lady in Colorado who had gone, and she sent me photos from her trip and told me all about her experience. So I think it's really good to get that personal view of a place.
Well, that is a good idea, and people always want to share trip pictures and stories. So
no, but that's great, because then you see the photos that maybe the place itself didn't put online. Because,
right.
As you know, you can't always judge a place. You can't judge a place by the website. And some places are great that have horrible websites, and some places have great websites, and maybe they're not the best places. So
right, exactly.
I think getting those personal tips, they're always good.
Great, and I do know that there are quite a few equestrian riding tour companies. If somebody wants it a little easier and they don't want to do all the research, they can go through those. And I know people that have been on them and had a great time. I know the one. And it's funny because you brought it up in our show with Stable Scoop when we recorded. Was they have a pub tour in Ireland where you just go from pub to pub. So you can do any kind of riding you really want to do in this world. That's the one I'm going to sign up for, except I think I want a carriage. I don't really want to be riding after I've gone from pub to pub. So
yeah, and Glenn, also, some people don't think about it, but there are places where you can bring your own horse. You can bring your horse with you. I was actually talking to a ranch in Texas the other day that has a program. You can take your horse, and they have the stable set up. You board your horse, you ride around their property. You feel like maybe you own the ranch for a little while. But that's another option for people that have a horse and want to travel with their horse.
Great. All right. Well, where can people learn more about you and what you do?
People can log on to our website, equitrekking.com, and watch some video, and also look for Equitrekking on their local PBS station. We have a station finder on our website where you can just put in your zip code or your city or state and find out where Equitrekking's airing in your area.
And you also have an online store, too, right?
We do, shopdarley.com, which is selling DVDs, our book, some different Equitrekking branded items and jewelry, photography, lots of different things that are all equestrian and travel related.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, Darley, and we'll be talking to you again. And if I don't talk to you before you head out, have a great trip to
Thanks,
California, too. The Emmys.
Basking in the sunlight.
And we are definitely going to be getting you back on when you're back from California on the Stable Scoop show, just to hear all about the Emmys and what stars you met and, you know, who you went out drinking with after, that kind of thing.
I know. I can't wait.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks again to Darley for joining us, and you can find all the links to Darley's websites and things right at horsetipdaily.com. You can just use the drop-down menu at the top and look up Darley Newman, or you can go to episode 70, and we'll have them there as well. We would love your feedback. I'd love to hear if you have an idea for an expert that you think should be on the show or a topic that you wish that we would discuss. You can just write to me at Glenn with 2 N's at horseradionetwork.com. And don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.